Have you ever felt like the day starts off heavy before it really starts? The mind wakes up confused, the body goes on automatic, and when it realizes it is already running after time. This is a clear sign that there is a lack of adjustment first thing in the morning. A morning reset is neither complicated nor far-fetched. It's just a conscious pause to organize the mind before the day takes over. Many people try to find focus and clarity when the day is already full of tasks, messages, and pressure. But those who learn to take care of the first minutes of the morning understand something important: the way you think early defines how you act later. A little mental adjustment when you wake up can bring more calm, more confidence, and more direction to whatever comes next. Here, you'll learn how to start your day more consciously, creating a simple foundation of mental organization, positive energy, and clear intention. They are easy-to-apply practices that help clear the mind, strengthen confidence, and give more meaning to daily actions. Each part paves the way for the next, creating a natural flow of personal growth and purposeful action from the start of the day. The morning reset is like pressing an internal button before starting the day. Instead of getting up already thinking about problems, you create a small space to organize the mind. This moment does not have to be long or complicated. It may be just a few minutes of taking deep breaths, stretching your body, or being silent. The important thing is to get out of automatic mode and into conscious mode early in the morning. A simple way to apply this reset is to avoid the cell phone in the first minutes of the morning. Instead, sit on the bed, put your feet on the floor, and breathe slowly for a minute. As you breathe, bring your attention to the now and let your thoughts slow down. This simple gesture helps clear the mind and sets the stage for more focus and clarity throughout the day. Over time, this little habit begins to change your relationship with mornings. You start to feel more control, calmer, and less internal hurry. The morning reset doesn't solve everything, but it does create a solid foundation for better choices later. And it is exactly this foundation that makes room for the next step, which is to decide how you want to start your day for real. Starting the day well isn't about doing too many things, it's about doing the right thing first. When you wake up without direction, the day chooses for you. But when you consciously decide how you want to start, everything changes. A clear start helps organize thoughts, emotions, and actions. It is at this point that the day stops being heavy and starts to flow better. A simple practice is to set an intention right when you wake up. It can be something short like, today I'm going to act calmly, or today I'm going to stay focused on what matters. Saying this in a low voice or mentally already creates an inner direction. This small gesture helps to align mind and attitude before tasks begin. It doesn't require time, just presence. When you start your day with intention, decisions get easier. You react less and choose more. Gradually, this creates a sense of control and confidence that accompanies the rest of the day. This mindful start prepares your mind for something even more important: maintaining focus and clarity even when distractions arise. Focus and clarity don't appear by chance. They are created. When the mind is confused, everything seems more difficult than it really is. Therefore, first thing in the morning, it is worth choosing a main point of attention for the day. It doesn't have to be a long list. Just a clear priority reduces anxiety and brings more direction. A simple practice is to write down the most important task of the day on paper. Just one. By doing this, your mind understands what deserves energy first. This habit helps you avoid unnecessary distractions and gives you a sense of real advancement. Even if other things come up, you know what your center is. With more focus, clarity begins to grow naturally. You start to see better what is worth your time and what you can expect. This mental clarity brings lightness and prevents mental fatigue early on. And when the mind is clear, it becomes much easier to build a strong and stable daily mindset. The daily mindset is the filter through which you see everything that happens throughout the day. When that filter is heavy, any situation feels bigger than it really is. But when you adjust your way of thinking early in the morning, the day takes on another color. It's not about forced positive thinking. It's about awareness of what you feed into your mind. A practical way to take care of the daily mindset is to observe the first ideas that come to mind when you wake up. If they are in a hurry, afraid, or complaining, it is worth pausing and redirecting. You can replace it with something simple, like remembering something good you already have or something you want to build. This small adjustment changes the internal tone of the day. Over time, this practice creates emotional stability. You begin to realize that not everything deserves your immediate reaction. A well-cared daily mentality brings balance, patience, and more confidence in decisions. And this mental state makes room for an even deeper adjustment, which is to renew the mind whenever necessary throughout the day. Mental reset is the ability to stop, breathe, and reorganize thoughts whenever the mind begins to overload. Even if you start the day well, it is normal for tensions to appear. The secret is not to avoid this, but to know how to mentally restart as many times as necessary. This reset restores clarity and avoids decisions made on impulse. A simple way to apply mental reset is to take short breaks throughout the day. Stop for a minute, take a few deep breaths, and release the tension from your body. As you breathe, bring your attention to the present and let your thoughts slow down. This small gesture helps clear the mind and regain focus effortlessly. When you learn to make this mental adjustment, the day becomes lighter. Problems do not disappear, but they cease to dominate your internal state. Mental reset creates space for calmer responses and more conscious actions. And this ability connects directly with the construction of a simple and efficient morning routine, which sustains the entire day. The morning routine doesn't have to be long or complicated to work. In fact, the simpler, the better. A good routine serves to prepare the mind and body for the day, not to generate pressure. When you repeat small habits every morning, you create internal stability and reduce mental effort to begin with. A basic routine can include waking up, drinking water, taking a deep breath for a few minutes, and mentally organizing the day. Some people like to stretch their body or read a few pages of an inspirational book. Others prefer to write down simple ideas or goals in a notebook. The most important thing is to choose practices that make sense to you and are easy to maintain. Over time, this routine becomes a silent support. Even on difficult days, it works as a point of balance. You don't have to think about what to do, you just follow the rhythm you have created. This constancy strengthens confidence and prepares the emotional state for something essential: cultivating a more positive morning, even when the day promises challenges. A positive morning is like setting the right tone for the rest of the day. Starting your day with an open and optimistic mindset doesn't mean ignoring challenges, but choosing to focus on what's within your reach. By cultivating a positive attitude early on, you train your mind to perceive more opportunities and solutions rather than problems. A simple practice to have a more positive morning is gratitude. When you wake up, think of 3 things you're grateful for. This can be done out loud or mentally. This small gesture helps to reprogram the mind for the positive side of life, regardless of what happens during the day. Gratitude is a powerful habit that, when cultivated, transforms the way you see the world. Over time, this act becomes natural. You start to realize that even in challenging situations, there's something good going on. A positive mindset helps reduce stress and boosts confidence, creating space for lighter, more productive energy. When the morning starts off on a positive note, it prepares your mind for a day full of opportunities and effective actions. Confidence is not born from great victories. It grows in the small commitments you make to yourself. When you start the morning doing what you promised, even if it's something simple, the mind registers it as an internal force. Gradually, this feeling turns into security to act throughout the day, without so much doubt or fear of making mistakes. A practical way to build confidence is to start the day with an action that's easy to follow. Making the bed, drinking a glass of water, or writing a simple goal already creates a sense of control. These small silent victories tell the brain that you are someone who acts, not someone who just thinks. Over time, this confidence is reflected in your posture, the way you speak, and the decisions you make. You start to trust your own judgment more and depend less on external approval. This firm internal state creates space for something even more valuable: a calm mind, capable of better dealing with pressures and unforeseen events. A calm mind does not mean the absence of problems, but the ability not to get lost in them. When you start the day in a state of calm, everything flows better. Decisions become clearer, reactions smoother, and the body less tense. Calmness is an internal resource that can be trained, especially in the early hours of the morning. A simple practice for cultivating a calm mind is to slow down the pace as soon as you wake up. Instead of jumping out of bed in a hurry, take a few deep breaths and observe your surroundings. This simple gesture helps the nervous system to get out of alert mode and into a more balanced and present state. With a calmer mind, you start to deal better with delays, mistakes, and changes of plans. Calmness creates space for more conscious choices and avoids unnecessary wear and tear. This internal state naturally favors productivity because when the mind is calm, the focus is maintained for longer and with less effort. Productivity is not about doing more things, it is about doing what really matters. When you start your day with an organized mind, it's easier to use your time wisely. True productivity is born of clarity, not haste. The less mental confusion, the more energy is left to act. A practical way to increase productivity is to break down large tasks into small steps. This prevents blockage and makes the start lighter. Starting with something simple generates movement, and movement generates motivation. Thus, the day progresses with more fluidity and less internal resistance. Over time, you realize that productivity doesn't have to be tiring. When the mind is clear and the focus is well-defined, the work yields more and fatigue decreases. This more mindful pace sets the stage for a more intentional lifestyle, where your actions better reflect who you want to become. To live intentionally is to stop acting on automatic and start choosing more consciously. When you decide how you want to live, even in the little things, the day makes more sense. Intention gives direction to actions and prevents you from getting lost in tasks that lead nowhere. A simple practice is to ask yourself, first thing in the morning, what really deserves your energy today? This question helps align decisions with personal values. You start to say less yes on impulse and more yes to what makes sense. This reduces emotional exhaustion and increases the sense of purpose. Over time, intentional living creates more balance. You begin to realize that not everything needs to be urgent. This more conscious rhythm improves the quality of choices and makes room to better use your energy, directing the focus to what really matters. Directing energy is understanding that you don't have infinite resources throughout the day. When everything gets the same attention, nothing gets the best of you. By choosing where to put your energy early on, you avoid mental and emotional waste. This brings more lightness and efficiency in actions. A practical way to do this is to observe what consumes your energy the most without bringing return. It can be too much social media, unproductive conversations, or repetitive worries. Reducing these points frees up internal space for activities that really contribute to your growth and well-being. Over time, you start to feel more control over your own pace. Energy is no longer something that is lost throughout the day and becomes something that you manage better. This natural care prepares the mind for an essential step: clearing thoughts and maintaining mental clarity. Clearing the mind is creating internal space to think better. When the head is full of loose thoughts, worries, and memories, it is difficult to make good decisions. Therefore, learning to empty your mind frequently is essential to maintain balance and clarity throughout the day. A simple practice is to write down everything that is going through your head. It can be in a notebook or on your cell phone. Writing takes the weight off the mind and organizes ideas. You don't need to solve anything at that moment. Just put it out. This habit helps reduce anxiety and brings an immediate sense of relief. With a clearer mind, you notice that thinking becomes easier and lighter. Ideas flow better and emotions become more stable. This mental state naturally favors daily motivation, which arises when the mind is not overloaded. Daily motivation does not appear by chance. It is built little by little. Instead of waiting to feel like acting, you create small sources of stimulus that keep you moving. When motivation comes from within, the day flows better and tasks no longer seem so heavy. A simple way to fuel motivation is to consume something inspiring first thing in the morning. It can be a few pages from a light book, such as The Power of Habit, or listening to a short message that brings clarity and encouragement. This daily contact with positive ideas helps to keep the mind active and directed. Over time, motivation no longer depends on the mood of the day. You start to act even when you are not at your best, because you know where you are going. This constancy strengthens the morning mindset and sets the stage for creating habits that sustain long-term success. The morning mindset functions as the central command of the day. When you wake up already decided to face everything as a problem, the body follows this pattern. But when you choose a more open and conscious stance, the mind responds with more balance. The morning is the ideal time to set that inner tone. A simple practice is to observe how you talk to yourself when you wake up. Internal phrases like "it's going to be a hard day" or "I'm tired before I start" create unnecessary weight. Replacing that with something as simple as "I'm going to take it one step at a time" completely changes the energy. Small changes in the way you think generate big effects throughout the day. With a well-cared morning mindset, you feel more prepared to deal with whatever comes your way. Not because everything will be easy, but because you will be firmer inside. This state of mind strengthens constancy and makes room for habits that support growth and success. Successful habits are not grandiose actions done once, but small behaviors repeated every day. When you start your morning with simple, consistent habits, you create a strong foundation for better results. The secret is in repetition, not perfection. A practical way to build these habits is to start small. Reading a few pages of a book, organizing the workspace, or reviewing a quick goal already makes a difference. Books such as Who Thinks Gets Rich help to reinforce ideas of discipline and mental direction. The important thing is to choose something that you can keep even on difficult days. Over time, these habits become automatic. You don't need to force motivation anymore, because the body and mind already know the way. This constancy strengthens confidence and creates an internal environment conducive to personal growth, which becomes the natural next step. Personal growth is the result of small choices made every day. It does not happen quickly or visibly from one day to the next, but is built in the silence of constancy. When you take care of your mind first thing in the morning, you create a favorable internal environment to learn, evolve, and become a better version of yourself. A simple practice to encourage personal growth is to take a few minutes to learn something new. It could be reading a few pages of a book, watching a short video, or reflecting on an idea that causes change. It doesn't have to be complex. What matters is to keep an open mind and willing to evolve a little every day. Over time, this daily commitment changes the way you see yourself. You become more confident in your own ability to learn and adapt. This inner advancement creates more clarity about who you are and where you want to go, preparing the mind for an even more organized and conscious state. Mental clarity is when the mind stops fighting with itself. Instead of a lot of loose thoughts, everything seems more organized inside. When you have clarity, decisions become simpler and mental fatigue decreases. It's not that the problems go away, but you start to see them more lucidly. A practical way to cultivate mental clarity is to reduce information overload first thing in the morning. Avoiding news, social media, and confusing conversations helps keep your mind clear. Exchanging this time for silence, breathing, or light reading already creates an immediate effect of internal organization. With more clarity, you feel that you think better and react less on impulse. The mind becomes more stable and the day picks up pace. This state favors more conscious choices and sets the stage for the final step, which is to transform intention into practical action. Intentional action is when you act knowing why you're doing something. Instead of just completing tasks, each step has a meaning. When the mind is clear and the day starts well-structured, acting becomes more natural and less tiring. The action ceases to be an effort and becomes a consequence. A simple practice is, before acting, to ask yourself if that action brings you closer or further away from what you want to build. This question helps to avoid wasting time and energy. Even small actions gain more value when they are done with awareness and purpose. Over time, acting intentionally transforms the routine and results. You start to trust your pace and your choices more. This alignment between mind, intention, and action closes the cycle started in the morning, showing that small daily adjustments have a profound impact throughout life. Now that you've gone through each step of this morning reset, it's worth stopping for a moment and reflecting. How have your mornings started until today? Automatically or with intention? Small adjustments made early in the day have the power to completely change your clarity, your confidence, and the way you act in the face of challenges. The question is not whether you have time for it, but whether you are willing to choose a better start. Nothing presented here demands perfection. The real breakthrough happens when you apply one step at a time. Which practice can you start tomorrow? Breathe more calmly, organize the mind, set a simple intention, or reduce distractions early in the morning. When the action is small, constancy becomes possible, and it is constancy that transforms results. If this content made sense to you, don't let it just be a reflection. Put it into practice. Observe the changes and allow your morning to become a point of strength in your day. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue learning how to develop focus, clarity, and personal growth simply and applied to real life.